Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this emergency live broadcast. Donald Trump says he's fed up with Zelensky. He's tired of seeing Zelensky running around the world and begging for more weapons. On top of that, General Michael Flynn talked about the both would-be assassins of Donald Trump and told us exactly the government that was helping those assassins. While we were helping that government, we're helping a government financially with billions of dollars, and that government was working with American terrorists to take out President Trump before the election. As soon as you're in, ladies and gentlemen, do me a huge favor, smash that thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment. Where are you tuning in from? And before we continue, the sponsor of today's video is Verity Metals. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Patriot family-owned gold, silver, and precious metal IRA firm who protect your finances, IRAs, 401ks, and your cash through physical, constitutional gold and silver. And if you would like free silver on your next order, Verity Metal is the company for you. Call or text 480-717-9081. Tell them Vlad sent you. Get free silver. You support the channel. Awesome. Let's get it going, ladies and gentlemen. From here, we're jumping onto my Twitter page. First clip is I want to play you this. This happened while Trump was meeting the president of El Salvador.
Have you spoken to President Zelensky, sir, about his offer to purchase more Patriot missile batteries?
Oh, I don't know. He's always looking to purchase missiles. You know, he's against. Listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war, right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size and then hope that people give you some missiles.
Have you spoken to President Zelensky, sir, about his offer?
You hear what Trump was saying?
More Patriot missile batteries?
Oh, I don't know.
Said,
He's always
because leading up to the, and I'll tell you this, what does Trump mean by saying, hey, when you start a war, you know, you got to know that you can win this war. Well, leading up to the war, Zelensky was puffing his chest for about like 3 months before Russia's invasion. Instead of calling them and saying, let's calm down, let's not go to war, he would go on TV every single night and threaten the Russian Federation, threaten the Russian people, actually say that they were going to invade. But let's continue. Before we get to General Flynn, we have some amazing news for you from Donald Trump and for the American economy. Breaking, huge update. NVIDIA announces that for the first time ever, it will manufacture its artificial intelligence supercomputers in the United States of America. This investment will produce up to $500 billion of AI infrastructure. NVIDIA Blackwell chip production starts in Arizona. NVIDIA opens first U.S. factories. And the CEO said this: adding American manufacturing helps us better meet the incredible and growing demand for AI chips and supercomputers, strengthening our supply chain and boost our resilience. Now, there are two clips from the Benny Johnson show that I'm going to play you. And they talk about both would-be assassins, about their connections, who they were calling, who they were communicating with. Clip number one.
You bring up the assassinations and you bring up terrorism, and you said somebody always knows. That's really struck me, General. Someone always knows. We have photos of Matthew Thomas Crooks before he shot Trump on the phone. Seems to be making a phone call on FaceTime. You can literally see it. Somebody knew. Somebody knew that a bullet was heading towards Trump's head that day. Yep. Who was it? And now, last week, we have news that I cannot wait to talk with you about, that Ryan Ralph was planning on using American-made weapons, say either a Stinger missile, an RPG, to shoot President Trump's plane out of the sky. Yep. We have his own text messages. His text messages were released communicating with the Ukrainian military, saying, get me these weapons.
Ladies and gentlemen, do me a huge favor. Smash that thumbs up right now.
It's in the DOJ filing, right? Have known.
He'll get over it.
Listen,
and he was
here's
armed.
Where it goes.
The Secret Service had to shoot at him. What's going on here, General? It seems like we know so little. We know nothing about these guys.
Yeah, here's what I would say about this, and this is for for whatever, because I know there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of frustration right now, and I'm frustrated to a degree. But I will get over it. But I do get frustrated on accountability. And if people that follow me on X, I always talk about accountability. Like something happens, a good executive order or release of files, crossfire hurricane stuff, JFK, all these things. I do want accountability. In this specific case, I'll bet a dime to a dollar that somebody else always knows. When somebody goes, "Oh, it's a lone wolf," the media loves to say that, a lone wolf, especially if it's like a guy on the right? There's no lone wolves. Somebody always knows. And what we're going to learn, and these have to be dug into, because these guys that were executing the task of trying to assassinate the president of the United States, they were executing it based on a tasking from somebody. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's take the JFK assassination files that we now have, we've now learned about.
So
JFK.
in this video, he says somebody was giving the orders. Now, there's about 5 more minutes of that clip, and he actually says, Ukraine, the General Flynn believes that the Ukrainian government knew that Crooks and the first and the second, the Crooks and the other one, they were going to try and assassinate Trump. They believe that Ukraine knew, just like the 17-year-old kid last week, also a Ukrainian kid originally, who wanted to take out Trump. Now we're going to play this other clip.
Really quickly, General, what should happen to Ukraine? Clearly, this guy had connections. Ryan Routh had connections to Ukraine. He'd been to Ukraine. He's been recruiting fighters. He knows the generals there. He knows the war fighters there. He had a no-look visa policy to bring in terrorists to Ukraine to fight for Ukraine. He's a Ukraine fanatic. And now he's going to Ukraine to get American-made munitions to kill Trump. And someone knew in Ukraine. I think this obviously is why President Trump treated Zelensky the way that he did in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
But what should happen to Ukraine if it's found that they were at the very least complicit in the potential killing of Trump?
Yeah. So my guess right now, and I'm speculating a little bit here, but that what the FBI is doing, there's a couple other organizations, but mainly the FBI is doing now, is they're going and pulling that thread. So all the way down into Ukraine. Who was this guy talking to? You can pull, and they'll pull the financial records, they'll pull the phone records, they'll pull the records of people in Ukraine, because that's treated a little bit differently between U.S. law and international law. So they're going to go and dig into this stuff. I guarantee it. They're going to go down to the Nat's rear end, and they're going to find the people that he was talking to, and they'll go, okay, well, what did he say? Who was he working with? Was there any associates with him when he met in these various meetings to purchase this stuff? Who was going to pay for it? Is this guy financially independent, wealthy? And was he going to pay for it? So there's a lot of little questions that got to be tied together, or the answers got to be knotted together here, and that'll come back. And when that comes back, trust me, there's going to be hell to pay, because there are people in Ukraine that were part of this, guarantee. And now you got to say, okay, Zelensky, was this some group that you were aware of? Are these guys in your military? Where were these weapons coming from? Were these weapons that were being brought in out of a warehouse, or were these being black marketed into Ukraine? And if they were being black marketed into Ukraine, where were those stingers coming from? Were they coming from Syria? Were they coming from Libya? Were they coming from Afghanistan? So there's a whole, thread that's got to be pulled, and we got to learn these things, because if we don't, because there's another Stinger missile out there waiting somewhere, Benny. Trust me, there's another RPG waiting out there somewhere that has enough range at a certain distance to be able to take an aircraft out of the sky. And that's what we have to be so smart about how this is done. Now,
ladies and gentlemen, you want to know who remembers leading up to the election, we heard on the news that Iranians supposedly smuggled in surface-to-air missiles. Leave me a comment. Do you remember? If you remember that, please leave me a comment right now. I want to hear from you guys. If you remember, leading up to the election, it was all over the news that Iran wants to kill Trump, and you're going to see how I put this together. We heard on the news that Iran wants to take out Trump, and that supposedly the Biden administration has intel because of Biden's open border policies, that supposedly they know that Iran smuggled in at least 7 surface-to-air missiles, meaning to take out Trump's plane. What if, and now this is tinfoil hat moment, what if it wasn't Iran and Iran doesn't want to take out Trump? Because I don't believe Iran wants to take out Trump. What if they wanted to blame Iran after Crooks brings it in from Ukraine and kills Trump? What if Crooks or one of those other guys that wanted to take out Trump, our CIA knew that they brought in surface-to-air missiles from Ukraine, and Ukraine helped them take out Trump. But then, if it would have actually happened, they would blame Iran and say, see, we told you. We warned you Iran wanted to do this. See, we warned you days ago. MAGA, get ready. We got to go to war with Iran. And then we would go to war against another country, kind of like after 9/11, we went to Iraq and Afghanistan, especially Iraq, because they told us they have weapons of mass destruction. And so American men and women who are patriotic, who said, we got to go get them, they went, they died over a lie. And it's actually not them who have real weapons of mass destruction. My question is this. North Korea has weapons of mass destruction. Why aren't we in North Korea right now? Pakistan has weapons of mass destruction. They have nukes. North Korea has nukes. We're not invading them. China has nukes. You don't see us invading China or Russia. There are lots of countries all over the world right now that have nukes and weapons of mass destruction. So my guess is, my tinfoil hat moment is this. They knew that these people were connected to Ukraine. The Ukrainian government was helping them. They were going to bring in missile-to-air defense systems. They wanted to go after Trump's plane. And if they were going to succeed, they were going to tell us, hey, MAGA, Iran took out your guy. We told you this for weeks now. It was all over the news. And then they would cover up Ukraine. Ukraine had nothing to do with this when really they're the ones who did it with crooks. And we would go and fight Iran for nothing over a lie. Does it sound like there's a government that really wants us to go to war against Iran? Is there a government that is willing to do literally anything to drag the United States into a war against Iran? Who was the first president to congratulate Joe Biden's win in 2020? I don't know. Tinfoil hat moment. But it just sounds a little too put together. So that then they could tell us, oh, see, MAGA, I guarantee you, there's a big percentage of Trump supporters who heard, oh, Iran wants to kill Trump, and they brought in surface-to-air missiles through the southern border. And then if something were to happen to Trump, they'd sign up for the military just to go and take out Iran because of what they did to Trump. And it would have been because of a lie. Ladies and gentlemen, a big, fat lie. Before I wrap this up, I do have one more story to give you a big update on. Attorney General Pam Bondi will seek 40 years in prison for domestic terrorists who firebombed Tesla dealership and GOP's New Mexico headquarters. So Attorney General Pam Bondi has revealed a suspected left-wing domestic terrorist is facing up to 4 decades behind bars. The Justice Department announced on Monday that 40-year-old Jameson Wagner has been charged with carrying out 2 arson attacks in Albuquerque, New Mexico, one targeting a Tesla dealership and the other the Republican Party state headquarters. Weird. Do you see how weird it is that it's only liberals attacking political offices? Like yesterday, 2 nights ago, Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, his house was torched. and it's a radical leftist Bernie Sanders supporter. It's crazy. They yell at us about January 6th. January 6th. Well, here's the thing about January 6th. January 6th was because a lot of people had a lot of problems with the government. And guess what? They didn't go burn cars. They went and faced the people they had an issue with. Now, it was wrong what they did, and I don't condone it. But they weren't burning down the country. They went to the people that they believed caused the problem in their life. See the difference, libs? See the difference? Ladies and gentlemen, it's just crazy what is happening. And we are just finding out so much more and more and more about the Trump assassination attempt and who was involved, who was in it. I mean, it's wild. And I really, really hope that what General Flynn has said about behind the scenes, you got Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino. They are going down the line. They are investigating Ukraine right now. They are looking into what Ukraine is doing. They are looking into how much Ukraine knew. And I like what Benny said. Remember how Trump treated Zelensky? Maybe Trump already knows. Maybe Trump already knows. And I believe he does. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe. If you want to get gold, silver, links are down below in the description. I'll see you soon.